Nigel Farage gave a scathing assessment of Priti Patel's performance as Home Secretary to date and called on Britain to reform European human rights legislation to assist with fighting the ongoing migrant crisis. Speaking to Conservative commentator Julia Hartley-Brewer on TalkRadio, the former leader of the Brexit Party explained how he had attempted to raise publicity on the migrant crossings in Dover last year and was laughed at when he predicted 5,000 would cross. It turned out to be 8,500, quipped Farage. Just to give a sense of perspective, we're heading for 20,000 this year. The Brexiteer berated the media for its narrative in highlighting women and children crossing, who form a very small percentage of the economic migrants in Calais. 85% of those who come are young men between the ages of 18 and 30. We've no idea where most of them come from because they destroy their ID documents. We then have to provide accommodation. There are hotels being filled up all over the country, and this is not just expensive, it isn't just wrong, it poses quite a significant security risk. Farage revealed his suggestion to deal with it is to follow in the footsteps of Tony Abbott's government in Australia, where a zero-tolerance policy was adopted and boats coming primarily from Indonesia were immediately turned back to Indonesia, where asylum claims were processed offshore. Do you know what happened? The boats stopped coming, Farage exclaimed. We as a country have always been quite open to genuine refugees. If we're going to take a share of genuine refugees, that's fine, but that must be processed offshore. We cannot allow this illegal trade to continue on this scale, he added. When quizzed by host Hartley-Brewer about yesterday's court ruling which saw the High Court side with illegal immigrants over being placed in ex-military facility Napier Barracks. It was good enough for tens of thousands of national servicemen, but clearly not good enough for those who are illegally trafficked into the UK. It may not be a four-star hotel, but far from being a prison, those who were in there were allowed to walk down to the local towns. This was not a prison camp, that is a misinterpretation. Farage lamented the fact that although Britain has now left the European Union, it still has a harmful European interpretation of human rights incorporated into domestic law via the Human Rights Act, which is resulting in ludicrous court rulings such as yesterday's. That court case yesterday was taken by 6 people who have illegally entered the country who we may now have to pay compensation. Farage protested. One of the truths here that Priti Patel will not confront is that unless we deal with the Human Rights Act, we have got a very big problem in returning anybody to France. And yet she never comes clean about it, makes an endless series of statements, gets up at the Tory party conference and talks tough. At the moment, she's proving to be one of the worst Home Secretaries ever.